wants the want to introduce yourself? Want us to introduce yourself first? Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Can they introduce themselves first? Line up here.
Sure.
Yeah. Go ahead, Chief. Very good. Good afternoon. I'm the Grand Chief of Treaty 2.
Chief Lynn A. Coops from APTN National, spokesperson for Treaty 4.
Chief Cameron Cattray, Scholar First Nation, Treaty 2. Hi, I'm Grand Chief Arthur Noski from Treaty Number 8. We acknowledge the unceded territory of the Musqueam Indian Band that we are delivering our statement from. Treaty Number 8, which was entered into June 21st, 1899 by order in council, which includes a Treaty 8 territory of approximately 840,000 square kilometers, the largest land-based treaty in what today is known as Canada. As sovereign peoples, we entered treaty. Treaty does not define us. The Assembly of First Nations is an administrative organization that has gone rogue and is aiding Canada in the devolution of our treaties. The organization are not rights holders, and they cannot speak about our treaty. Although this notice has been served repeatedly, Canada continues to dishonor the Crown and treaty. In fact, the Treaty Number 8 states the following: provided, however, that Her Majesty reserves the right to deal with any settlers within the bounds of any land reserved for any band as she may see fit, but also that the aforesaid reserves of land or any interest therein may be sold or otherwise disposed of by Her Majesty's government for the use and the benefit of the said Indians entitled thereto, with their consent first had and obtained. The true spirit and intent of all treaties, especially the numbered international treaties 1 to 11, were never signed with Canada. While reconciliation talks reconciliation, action speaks louder than words. We continue to serve notice to Canada that you must deal directly with the sovereign nations and peoples of those international treaties on all legislation policy that impacts their inherent and treaty rights. Currently, in the media, there are issues plaguing the Assembly of First Nations organization. We agree that this administration non-profit organization should undergo a full audit, but their partner, the Government of Canada, should undergo an audit as well. We are here today to call out Canada and AFN and their fiscal relationship, and to encourage the treaties 1 to 11 nations and the pre-Confederate Confederation nations across Turtle Island to meet. Canada, AFN, and its Executive Council established a permanent bilateral mechanism known as the Memorandum of Understanding on joint priorities between AFN and Canada. This MOU was entered into without our knowledge and consent. We call upon our brothers and sisters in the international treaties 1 to 11 to unite in the protection of our sovereignty. We are inviting all chiefs and councils from treaties 1 to 11 and the pre-Confederation treaties to stand in solidarity. One of the Treaty 8 nations will host the treaties 1 to 11 gathering this September, and we look forward to seeing you all. We must work together because the Canadian government has been working on the devolution of our treaties, and AFN and their Executive Council is delivering us on a silver platter. But I remind you today that as sovereigns, our treaties are here, so as long as the sun shines, the grass grows, and the rivers flow, and until at such time as Yehda should reverse. In closing, I would like to say that when you follow our natural laws, an inherent way of life, you will not go rogue. We must follow what the Creator has given us, and it is based on who we are as people, our land, our values, our principles. Say, hey, thank you.
You take questions?
Yeah.
I remember maybe it was 2014, 2013, there was also this call for, I know you have annual treaty gathering, but there was this call to bring the treaty nations together to become more of a political force. And I went to Ian Lake for one of those, for that treaty gathering, but it kind of lost steam. I'm just wondering, what is different about this call from what we've seen in the recent past to try to bring the treaty nations together as a political force?
I believe what's different now is, with the education of our people, like what Treaty 8 has been doing, we've been engaging our nations, our membership, and been informing them of who they were as a people to have entered into treaty. So this time around, we see that, right from the Indian residential schools, there's been a process, not only of genocide of our people, but also for us to lose our identity and to be absolved into the rest of this colonized government. So what's different now is that our people understand who they are, and that is where we're coming from. And then going forward, I understand that Canada will not do anything to fund, our treaties 1 to 11 process, because they are the true landowners. And they don't want to undermine their assumed jurisdiction as a government. So in saying that, as we gather not only strength but understanding of who we are as a people and our sovereign way of governing, our elders are reminding us, and this will go forward. And with newly elected chiefs and educated chiefs, I believe this is going to be ongoing, and we are at a place where we need to organize.
So you're going to become a political force.
Well, we need to push the political position of treaties, right? The government of Canada talks about self-determination. They talk about self-determination of First Nations people only restricted to what is called the reserve today. We entered into treaty as a territory. All treaties 1 to 11 come into treaty as a territory. And I believe that self-determination includes that territory for our people.
There's a resolution coming from this afternoon about calling for a forensic audit. I'm just wondering, I don't know if you have a proxy, but how the treaty territories represented here, Treaty 2, Treaty 8, Treaty 4 are going to be voting on that.
Well, I know that there's nations 4, like a lot of them are saying there should be a forensic audit done, right? And I will stress this point. As treaties, the top 2 priorities under all treaties are education and healthcare. And basically in our sharing of the land and the exploitation of its resources, that our education and that our healthcare would be funded at full cost. With this organization, AFN, Canada negotiates with them as to how much program dollars are going to come into the region. And then now the sovereign people, the chiefs, the leaders, are fighting over how much should go to their nation. That is not a treaty-based process. And that's what we're saying.
Just curious, there was a young woman that stood up today and talked about how so much time has been spent on this leadership crisis, and she has a suicide crisis in her community. She felt forgotten and left out. What would you say to that young woman?
I believe that is the residual effects of the residential school. I believe that the one thing, 2 things, 2 priority items that they did at the residential school was for us to lose our identity and to lose our connection to the land. With our culture and our heritage as First Nations people, everything is connected. And the connection is the families. And that was what was devastated at the residential school, development, I'll say. And since then, there's been these big compensation packages that not only just add to the crisis that the government has been doing, but there's been no sustainable programs in place to address the residual effects. And until that happens, there'll be more of these because our youth have lost who they are, lost their identity. And, we need to, connect them to that place. Suicide is a place of hopelessness. We are a people that value each other. And that is the culture and the system that we need to go back to.
In answer to Jorge's question about the forensic audit and the call for accountability from the AFN, in relation to treaty, when our ancestors entered into treaty, we brought our laws with them into negotiations, right? And there are a number of protocols and processes that are built into our traditional governance. And one of the things that we learned as a principle of treaty is that negotiations must take place in the light of day and in the open and not behind closed doors. And that our people should be there to hear what's being discussed. And so I think we all bring those principles of treaty with us when we come to the AFN. Things must be done by the light of day and not behind closed doors. So I just wanted to add that, Chief. Sorry to interrupt. That's one of our principles that we operate with.
And just on that, the current form of the resolution on the audit calls for 10 years. I'm just wondering if your thoughts on whether 10 years is too much or is that how it needs to go? And whether you have any concerns about, and whether you have any concerns, because we're talking about money that has, terms and conditions, contribution agreements. If this is going to open up the AFN to also something from ISC, it's the biggest point contributing. What Pandora's box is open?
I can answer that question. How far do you want to go back? When you're talking about a forensic audit, just give you a timeline. How far you can go back, how far you can go forward, right? So, I would think that 8 years of the former national chief standard would be unqualified audit straight through. So you're questioning the ability of the auditors. They're unqualified, so meaning they're good audit, right? Myself and a lot of the Manitoba chiefs are transparency and accountability. So we support that, we welcome that, but we also welcome the process of the bullying, the harassment allegations, the 5 harassment allegations that are made by the staff, and we hope that process is followed, and then we can get back to more important things rather than this distraction, because a lot of times this is what the media loves, and this is what the government of Canada loves, us fighting amongst each other. Meanwhile, we should be fighting Canada, for our rights. And just like the chief said here, it's our sovereignty, it's our inherent right to be here. This is our land. We should be the richest people. Meanwhile, we're the poorest. Thank you.
What can I ask another one? I just, what the media loves. I remember when the talk was reviving like the treaty nations as a political body. And there was talk about declaring breach of treaty at the time. That was like, I don't know, more time. I don't know if you remember. Like that big deal. I'm just wondering, like, is there plans to pool resources to actually create a political body, maybe break away for the AFN? Like, what is the vision with this announcement?
Well, I can also tell you that us in the Treaty 2 territory met with Minister Miller in Riding Mountain National Park on June 21st. And, it was a very good conversation. It was about our Canada table, about how we should govern ourselves, how we were underfunded, how the NWIP was underfunded, and how do you move forward without the resources, right? So and that's what we expect them. We need the resources to move forward and help us govern ourselves. Let us take care of ourselves. Don't be afraid of us.
Through all this, I wonder how many other parents don't get to do right by their children because they have had to give up their children that put them in care
Yeah, part of society. Right?
because they have had to move off the reserve.
And, you know, when we're back home, we're but we're not. We're part of society. We're the richest people in Canada, and that's the way that we should be treated.
Has any of your faith been shaken in the AFN given these events? Is this why?
We're on resolution number 1 and 2 still. What does that tell you? It's days wasted. A lot of us have taken time out of our busy schedules on what we're doing for our nation. We're here. We're trying to you know, figure out what's happening here. I'm sitting here. I'm a mover on one resolution that I'm withdrawing my support from the non-confidence because I want to follow the process. I want process to be followed. You know, and so what do? You know what? Again, wasted time. We're sitting here going back and forth. Just like the young lady said, you guys waste your time too much. We should be child and family service, policing, everything, justice, you know, murder, missing women, things like that. We should be working on all of that. Our resources. How do we get transfers back to Canada, right?
Chief Aikens, I was wondering if I could just, as a spokesperson for Treaty 4, has your faith for the territory Treaty 4 been shaken in the AFN?
Personally, I've never relied upon the AFN, the voice for our people. The for Saguenay and Schlabeck, the nations within Treaty 4, they have their own voice. They have the self-determination and take part in whatever political forum they want to. That's you know in aligned with our principles of self-determination. And I come to the AFN to monitor what is going on with the AFN, what kind of movements or strategies they're making from a national perspective in defense of treaty. So I come here to understand what's going on and how is that going to impact the principles of treaty. So I've never really had faith in the AFN. I think it could be an effective organization, but it's not the government. There are a lot of gaps in the governance that make it dangerous to treaty and to self-determination. So I come here to voice my concerns about where the AFN is going and how they can better align our aspirations for self-determination and honoring treaty.
I just wanted to address the area of funding wise, right? I know it's been an issue right from day one with treaties 1 to 11, because Canada will not fund, you know, the sovereign partners, basically the sovereign nations that entered into treaty, and that is basically the main focus on that is the evolution of treaties. That's their intent. And as long as there's somebody out there that's representing, saying, "Oh, I'm Indigenous, I represent these people," they'll go deal with those or work with those instead of the sovereign people that entered into treaty. So in saying that, we lobby for Canada to fund the organization of treaties 1 to 11, but I will say they will not do it because of that. Because now they've kind of lost their, you know, their country, their land, because we are the landowners. And, you know, the treaty was there for us. So if Canada reneged on the treaties, then what? Right? I think the international courts need to have a play here going forward. And, you know, sometimes I question, was Treaty 8 a legal document? Right? And maybe that's a question for the Chief Justice of Canada. Is it a legal document? Because if it is, you have a lot of catching up to do in relation to Treaty 8 First Nations and Treaties 1 to 11. So, thank you. And like I'll say, Treaty 8, have pulled out of AFN assemblies. We don't partake in any AFN because our leaders, our sovereign people say we entered into the treaty as a sovereign people and we speak on our behalf. But we don't have any spokesperson other than the one we appointed.
Have you formally withdrawn?
Yes, we've sent VCRs and we've served notice letters to both AFN and also Canada. But since they have a way of undermining, right? Undermining treaties, they will maintain the process. And what I'm saying to treaties 1 to 11, Confederation treaties, you know, AFN and Canada are at the trunk of treaty trying to do away with it. It's time for us to get together.
One more question. Okay. Chief McLean, just in your last answer, you mentioned that you were supporting the non-confidence motion and you decided not to. Why did you change your mind?
When we met in the management conference, I want to say, former chief, Grand Chief Derek Napanak, really respect him and his knowledge that he brings to the table. And we spoke about it, we spoke about things. We just went through that with AMC and Winnipeg. And I think the process needs to be followed, right? You know what, hey, we're going to be back here again in December in Ottawa at the AFN Annual Assembly again. And, if the findings are there for workplace harassment, we'll deal with it then, right? So let the process play itself out. I know the forensic audit will never be done in that time, but, we have to see what this goes.
Now, I guess for me, like it's just the closing comments. Well, I've been engaged in the past with the AFN charter review, right? And AFN elections, basically, when you registered to go cast your ballot as a chief at the AFN elections, you basically relinquished or delegated them to be your spokesperson. That's what the charter says. So that is the reason why Treaty 8 is no longer a part of the event, because again, when we entered into treaty as a territory, why would we want somebody else to speak on our behalf and undermining the promises that were under our treaty? And our treaties are with the crown, right? They're with the crown. And I will say this in closing, like a lot of times we use in courts the honor of the crown. The honor of the crown carries weight with the lieutenant governors and the governor general, and I believe the chief justice of Canada. The rest are politicians, right? They have to listen to the public that elected them. So in saying that, we are a sovereign people that entered into treaty with an imperial crown. And as much as they've tried to undermine that through genocide, the residential schools, you name it, the 5 fingers of genocide, we're there. But we're saying enough. We've learned the laws basically. I look for free, prior, and informed consent. Where was it when they transferred the natural resources of the Western provinces? Where was that consent from First Nations people that entered into treaty? So Canada and the provinces have a lot of answering to do. And the best way to resolve, and the word out there, the magic word is reconciliation. The only way that'll happen is engaging directly with the sovereign peoples that they entered into treaty with. With that, thank you. Second questions online?
Nope.
No questions?
I've just asked again.
Okay.
Thank you.
We have a lot.